What if every dry season in your business wasn't punishment, but pruning? What if every surge of momentum wasn't random, but the natural rhythm of heaven? God designed growth to move in cycles, not chaos. And when you learn to work with the rhythm, not fight against it, you stop burning out trying to force fruit in a planting season, and you start scaling in peace. Hi, if you need to meet, my name is Raquel, and I'm your GPS for success. Let's get started. Welcome back to One Breakthrough Now, where we bridge neuroscience and scripture to rewire the mind for kingdom level results. Today, we're stepping into the Genesis blueprint for every entrepreneur, whether you're just starting or you're expanding. It's the divine pattern hidden in plain sight. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. Or in modern terminology for business, plant, grow, multiply, and our favorite word, scale. Before God ever gave Adam a paycheck, he gave him a pattern. The same command that governs biology, seed time, and harvest governs business. Everything God creates grows in 4 seasons: fruitfulness, multiplication, replenishing, and subduing. Be fruitful. What does that look like? Birth the seed, test the idea, let it produce its first fruit. Multiply, strengthen what works, and prune what doesn't. And that's a lesson that we have to constantly be doing, checking to see what's not working, even if we love doing it. Replenish, refresh the soil, renew your systems, restock the vision. Subdue, you take territory, you start to steward the harvest, and you govern the growth. So if you're new to entrepreneurship, these aren't random commands, they're your map. Genesis 1:28 isn't just a spiritual verse, it's the original business plan. The reason many believers feel stuck isn't because they missed God. It's because they planted in one season and expected a harvest in another. And as we talked about last week in the Joseph Blueprint, only because we have favor, it doesn't say mean instantaneous results. We think favor, we think instant. No, that's not the way it always works. So when we start to understand the cycle, it actually starts removing the guilt and the stress and the frustration, and then it restores the grace to grow at the right pace. Now let's connect this to your beautiful brain, right? That's your 24/7 internal virtual assistant. The neuroscience calls this synaptic pruning or synaptic strengthening. So your mind is naturally releasing what's no longer useful, so stronger connections can form. It's actually God's design coded right into your neurons. So when people tell you you have everything you need in order for you to do the next thing God's asking you to do, you have everything inside of you. Yes, He put it in your beautiful brain. When you're learning a new skill, for instance, right? You're launching your first offer, you're writing your first pitch, your brain starts to fire thousands of new connections. But as repetition and focus start to settle in, it starts to prune away all these extra things, leaving only the most efficient pathways. Your brain is always looking for patterns because it wants to be efficient. And that's how mastery happens. So, right, in your business, pruning, it doesn't mean failure, it means refinement. So, every no, every slow month or slower month, every time a door closes, your mind and your methods, they're just pruning for the next level of fruitfulness. Right? We're always going from glory to glory. In episode 4, I think it was episode 4, I was going over interrupting loops, right? And that one teaches about aligning your loops, letting old patterns die so that the new neural roots can take hold. And you want that because, again, it's running 95% of the things for you automatically. So we want them to work to our advantage. If you're in the planting season, you're hearing God's whisper about starting something new. You might still be in corporate, maybe you're already in transition, and you're thinking, okay, things are not really moving yet. But seed time is where heaven does its deepest work underground. And here's what this season looks like, right? You're clarifying your vision, you're gathering the right soil, which is your message, your mission, and your model. You're testing obedience over outcome. The world calls this building from scratch, but heaven calls it being fruitful. So don't despise the small beginnings. That's where you're building neural safety. Your brain learns to trust that obedience equals progress, not proof. So if you've been following the season from the earlier one, especially episode 1, we went over the Kingdom First business plan. This is where you practice what you've learned, inviting God into the blueprint. Let him co-author the plan, not just bless the product. Sometimes you want to go and do things and we're like, okay, God, I finished. And we don't even know if that's what he's calling us to do for that season. Slow down. Once the seed starts to sprout, right, now you're in your next season, growth. We're like, yay, how do we grow the sales? Sales are starting to trickle in. You're testing your systems, your audience, your voice. It's really exciting, but it's also fragile. And this is when many entrepreneurs are either going to burn out because they start doing too many things, or and they'll backslide thinking that something's wrong because the growth feels messy. It's supposed to be. Neuroscience, again, it gives us language for this: synaptic strengthening. You're repeating what works until it becomes automatic. Repetition builds confidence, both in your mind and in your market. So, yes, while you're building your own confidence, repeating things, you're building confidence with your market because they also need repetition. Their brain is working the same way. So, here's the key though: don't confuse growth with grind. You're not meant to do everything. You're meant to do the right things repeatedly until mastery is formed. And this is where God teaches you stewardship. Fruitfulness, it's personal, but growth is relational this way and then this way. You'll learn how to communicate value, serve your clients, and especially sow generously. You start to see others benefit from what you carry. And then we get to season 3, multiply, the multiplying stage. Now here, your roots, right? They're really deep, and they're deep enough to start creating new branches. They start to grow. You can start hiring, automating, mentoring other people. And once it took you 10 hours to do something, and now it's only taking you 2 because you've built the rhythm. And I'm living this in real time because it used to take me like 10 hours to do a show, and now I've got it down to about 2. Biblically, multiply means to increase by division. So in other words, sharing what you've learned so that it could expand beyond you, right? We want it to go beyond us. So just like the neurons form networks in your brain, your business begins to form systems. And this is the shift from solo effort to structured excellence. You're still creative, but now you're also strategic. And yes, this stage, it's like, you're stretching. You're going to feel the pruning here, right? Again, you have to let go of what once worked. Maybe it was working. Maybe it's not working as well. Maybe you're feeling like, oh, I really like this thing, but God's calling me to let it go. It's because the next level needs to thrive, and it can't if you bring it in that old system. So thinking back to episode 5, which is the Joseph blueprint, Joseph had to manage plenty after surviving prison. So multiplication requires a mindset of management, and this is where that's really going to come into play for you. And then finally, our favorite, scaling, subduing season. Now, in the Hebrew, the word means to bring under disciplined dominion. It's not control through fear, it's authority through stewardship. And this is where you expand into new markets, refine your brand voice, or create a team culture that carries your values even when you're not in the room. And that's actually also simultaneously happening with your clients. Your clients are also, an extension of you. And I love it because my clients, a lot of them, they'll tag me in their socials, they'll talk about the work that I'm doing. And I love that, right? Because they're talking about me when I'm not in the room. Scaling isn't about doing more. It's actually about doing less. But the intention here is greater impact. So in neuroscience term, your brain has fully, created these neural pathways. Well, once was a conscious effort, right? You had to use the free act of your will to do something. Now it's like this subconscious ease. Now you're in this flow. You have literally wired yourself for success into your systems as well. So it's happening internally and it's happening in your business. And this is the rest with authority, right? Because the same rhythm that God modeled in Genesis 2, after he created, for 6 days, he rested. Because why? The systems that he put in place, those things that he spoke, they are working. Subduing isn't about striving, it's about sustaining. And this is why seasons matter. If you're newer to entrepreneurship, it's really tempting to compare your planting season to someone else's scaling season. But comparison is like digging up a seed, right? And every day you're trying to see if it's growing, is it working? But what is it actually doing? It's killing your momentum. When you understand that each command of Genesis 1:28 is a seasonal invitation. Now, the season can be a week, it could be a month, it could be 60 days, it could be 90 days, it could be 6 months. Right? But whatever season that particular thing is, the invitation there is to stop judging where you are and start to just steward it, because the stewardship part, that's never going to go away. So if you're planting, you celebrate faith. If you're growing, you're celebrating the perseverance, right? You just keep going. If you're multiplying, you are celebrating collaboration, right? Because now you're bringing in other people to help multiply what you're doing. If you're subduing, you're celebrating legacy. And this is how you become fruitful and fulfilled simultaneously. You can't have those two things at once. So let's recap. Your mind prunes and strengthens just like your business does. Every no is just part of your pruning. Every repetition strengthens mastery. Every system multiplies capacity. And every surrender, it leads to dominion. So on the other side of this short break, we're going to dive into how seasoned entrepreneurs can scale with peace. And even if you're not there yet, you're still going to learn how to recognize which season your business is in, how to align your team and your offers accordingly, and then ensure that your growth, it doesn't outpace your grace. That's how you end up burning out, and you can actually physically make yourself sick. Because heaven, it never called you to hustle harder. It called you to harvest smarter. So I will see you on the other side of this break, because every season has a strategy. And when you honor the rhythm, breakthrough becomes inevitable. I'll see you on the other side of this break.
Thank you for watching Prospera TV Network. We hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of some of the highest level entrepreneurs, high performers, titans of industry all over the world. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to scale your business, take it to a whole nother level, the Connected Leaders Academy is your hub. You want to be a part of this tribe, and mainly for 5 reasons. To grow, personally and professionally. We all want to be better people. We all want to be better entrepreneurs. To scale your influence. We all want to have authority in our space, be the go-to person in our industry. Of course, move the needle in your business. What does that mean? More money, more clients, leads, referrals, endorsements, collaborations, it's all here. We want to develop our skill sets. We're all working on something. None of us have arrived. And of course, we want to grow our network and our circle exponentially with more intentionality, more ROI, and better results. The Connected Leaders Academy is now well over 350 members, paid members. We are in 42 states across the US and 17 international countries. We're talking about awesome places like Italy, Malta, Australia, UK, Hong Kong, Pakistan, India, Germany, France, South Africa, the list goes on. We have entrepreneurs from all different entrepreneurial backgrounds, real estate investors, insurance brokers, attorney offices, coaches, authors, speakers, trainers, publishing companies, martial arts school owners, social media gurus, branding experts, you name it. We have the best of all industries under one roof here. I welcome you to join the Connected Leaders Academy today. I want to invite you personally to set up a virtual coffee with me. How do you do that? Go to www.connectedleadersacademy.com. Again, connectedleadersacademy.com. Check out the website, click on the link to set up a virtual coffee with me directly, and I would love to have a conversation with you and explore the next steps on your journey here with the Connected Leaders Academy.
Shift happens right here, right now. I declare it, I wear it, I walk it out. From thought to word, from word to see.
My name is Jarain Ortiz, owner and CEO of BCS, Bookkeeping Consulting Services. At BCS, we help nonprofits and small businesses with all of their financial management needs. Bookkeeping, grant tracking, project tracking, budgeting, financial reporting, cash flow management, and more. You can visit us at bookkeepingcs.com. That is bookkeepingcs.com.
The future doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the rewired. Welcome back. In the first part of the show, we talked about how God's blueprint for growth moves in seasons, right? Being fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue, and how your brain starts to mirror that through pruning and strengthening most of the time at the same time. So now we're going to talk about what happens after the first harvest, because sustaining fruitfulness takes more wisdom than starting it. And this is not to scare those who are, newbies at this. Some of you watching have already seen success, right? The clients are coming in, your calendar is full. Maybe you even have a team that is growing under you, but maybe the momentum feels off lately. And the vision that once burned really bright, you're like, man, this is feeling so heavy. Am I really meant to do this? Does God really want me to do this? It just feels like, and that's usually the sign that one season has ended and the next is actually calling you higher. So that's the good news. This part of the episode is for the entrepreneur who's ready to scale, but they want to do it without losing alignment, peace, or purpose, right? They really don't want to burn out. Every level of business has a cycle, actually within a cycle. In Genesis 1:28, it repeats itself in layers. The same four seasons apply, whether you're managing one product or a full enterprise. So then the first question becomes, which season are you in now? If you're in fruitful, you're in innovation and you're testing. Your next offer is emerging. If you're multiplying, what's working needs duplicating and refining. Replenish, your systems or your soul needs restocking, right? We will prosper and be in health as our soul, our mind, will, and emotions prosper. And subduing, it's time to delegate, it's time to automate, and it's time to lead through structure. Seasoned leaders often mistake stillness for stagnation. It's not the same, but pruning at scale, it's strategic. Synaptic pruning in your brain never stops. Neither should refinement in your business, which is why a lot of times, especially in the coaching spaces, people will tell you you're actually doing less for clients and charging them more and scaling that way because it's part of the pruning process. When you sense the grace lifting, that's a huge indicator from something that used to work. This is not a curse. It's not like God's telling you, like, don't do it anymore. It's actually an invitation. God is saying, it's actually good. You've mastered this loop. Yay. Now let's strengthen a new one, right? We're always going from glory to glory. Next. At these higher levels, leadership requires a meta awareness. You're no longer just rewiring your thoughts, you start to rewire cultures. Neuroscience calls this collective resonance. When multiple people align their neural and emotional patterns around a shared vision, the group begins functioning like a single mind. This is why your internal atmosphere as a leader matters more than your strategies. The energy that you carry becomes the environment that your team works on. And we see this even in people who are doing research, right? So if you have somebody who is a high performer, high achiever, and you put them next to a team maybe that's not performing as well, they will actually increase in their performance. I think it's like 30%, right? By having that energy with them, near them. In episode 2, we talked about the prosperous soul CEO. Now, if your nervous system is in survivor mode, your organization is going to mirror it, and then therefore your business and your sales and everything else. Scaling it actually begins with the nervous system regulation, because that's the piece that passes understanding. It actually gets encoded into your process. So before you expand the brand, expand your inner bandwidth. A rested mind creates efficient decisions. It is so important for you to build those times of rest. At this level, fruitful no longer means you're creating 10 new offers and 10 new products. It means cultivating innovation labs inside your business. You specifically as the CEO, you are planting ideas, not the products. You're empowering the people, not the projects. You're experimenting inside boundaries. You're not reacting to pressure. This is where God reintroduces wonder. He restores curiosity so creativity flows again. So if you find yourself saying, we've always done it this way, that's an indicator that you need some new fruits. Ask yourself, what fresh revelation or technology is God highlighting? Which process could the Spirit streamline if I gave him room to do so? Fruitfulness at scale, it looks like giving your team permission to explore within your values. So innovation doesn't threaten order, it actually strengthens it. When scripture says to multiply, it's not just being numeric, it's genetic. Multiplication without DNA clarity, that's what breeds mutation. And this is the moment to codify what makes your brand distinct. Ask yourself, what's the culture code that must never change, even as everything else does, because things will change. Your mission statement becomes training material. Client experience becomes a documented system. Your faith foundation becomes visible practice, no longer a private thought. Neuroscience calls this pattern preservation. It's keeping neural integrity as new branches are forming. And you're essentially building corporate the same way, your own corporation the same way, right? Habits that protect flow. Now, in episode 3, it's called, I believe it's Rewired for Innovation. You've learned that creativity, it actually thrives in constraint. It sounds like a misnomer, right? In order to really be creative and innovation, there has to be some kind of guardrails around it. But here, those constraints are the rails, right? They're keeping your train. Think of it like keeping your train on expansion. It's going to allow you to expand your business and keep it on track by having those guardrails in place. This is the most overlooked stage of scale. After heavy multiplication, both your mind and your mission, they need replenishing. Think of it as a Sabbath in structure. You design systems that rest so that people can flourish. So practically, what does this look like, right? You're automating things so that way it doesn't drain energy. You're rotating responsibilities to prevent burnout, including your own. You're scheduling silence into leadership meetings. And spiritually, you're looking at revisiting your why, celebrating those testimonies, and letting gratitude realign your goals. Now, in neuroscience, this mirrors the default mode network reset. It's the brain's downtime that integrates learning into identity. If you never replenish, you start operating from old data, and now you're leading your company today with yesterday's mindset. When God rested on the seventh day, he didn't stop working. He stopped creating because everything necessary for things to move forward, it was already in place. And that's divine automation. Subduing at scale means governing with grace. It's where you move from operator to architect. Your role is going to shift from doing the work to defining the way the work is done. You build culture, not chaos, and you manage metrics and morale. The brain, this parallels executive function integration. That's where logic, emotion, and vision, they kind of synchronize together for optimum decision making. And we want to be optimal in our decision making. So what does this look like? You empower decision layers, right? You start to trust your managers. You start to align your KPIs with kingdom principles even more. You're building your feedback loops that nurture, not punish. Spiritually, it means you stop fighting fires and start lighting the beacons. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You govern outcomes through words, systems, and your presence. And this is where Genesis 1:28's final command, it meets Luke's 19th parable of occupy till I come. Subdue doesn't mean suppress. It means to steward and sustain influence with integrity. One of the biggest shifts for mature entrepreneurs is realizing multiple cycles can run and often do run at once. Your marketing team might be planting, and then your operations are multiplying, and then your leadership team, we're replenishing. This is not disorder, it's orchestra. Every instrument is playing its part in God's grand rhythm. Your job isn't to control the song, it's to conduct it. And this is why discernment, it matters even more than your drive. In the last episode, episode 5, the Joseph Blueprint, Joseph had to manage 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, right? So you're overlapping seasons that required foresight and restraint. And likewise, discernment will tell you whether this quarter it needs planting faith or pruning faith, or a combination of both, again, depending on which part of your business you're looking at. Now, at this level, scale becomes legacy. You no longer ask, how big can this get? But how long can this last? Legacy is multiplication that outlives momentum. It's the systems, your songs, your books, the leaders that carry your vision when you've moved on to your next assignment. Neuroscience calls this transference of mastery, the point when your neural patterns become someone else's reference point. Spiritually, Paul said it this way: imitate me as I imitate Christ. The goal isn't clones, it's to continue on. And when your business reflects kingdom order, people encounter peace through your process. And that's evangelism by excellence. So let's summarize the 4 seasons at scale. When you're fruitful, the focus is innovation. Your brain parallel there is neurogenesis, and the outcome is fresh revelation. Season of multiplication, the focus there is replication, and the brain parallel is the pattern strengthening. The outcome here is stewardship. When you're in your season to replenish, then your focus is integration. The brain parallel is the DMN reset, right? Your default mode. Think of it as your default mode if you've never heard of that, right? It's your default. And that needs a reset, which is the outcome is a renewal, right? You can't keep on, creating new things with old data and old ways of thinking. When you're ready to subdue, this is where your focus is in governance, right? In your brain parallel is the executive harmony, and the outcome is dominion, yes, with peace. If you're sensing pressure, pause and ask, am I forcing fruits in a pruning season? Realign, reset, and let the rhythm return. Friend, you were never meant to hustle endlessly. You were designed to flow rhythmically. When you honor the 4 seasons of scale, you'll find that God's command to be fruitful, multiply, it wasn't just a blessing. It was actually a built-in business model. Your mind, it prunes. Your systems, they strengthen. Your spirit is replenished, and so is your soul. Your authority subdues. And that's what sustainable success looks like in the kingdom. In the next episode, we're going to uncover the Sabbath strategy, how rest itself becomes your growth advantage. You're going to know why God designed recovery before productivity, how your prefrontal cortex resets during true rest, and why ceasing from work is the ultimate act of faith. Yes, pause and do nothing for entrepreneurs. Because when heaven leads, even your stillness, it actually multiplies results. I can't wait to share the strategy with you. Until next time, may God's richest and best be yours. Bye for now.
This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.